Hello.
Good morning, everyone.
Sorry I missed last week.
No problem. Recording okay with everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Alrighty. So we threw away last week's beeps and started off with today's beeps. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And these beeps from today or yesterday?
They are from this morning.
Excellent. So this is going to be Tristan's day 5. Is that right? I think that's
Yes,
right.
that's correct. 5.
And anything we should be talking about before we launch into the beeps?
I think we should start up.
It's okay with me. Number 1.
All right, number 1, I'm reading the words, our most significant event. I am presenting the words significant event to myself internally. There's something of a speech quality to that, but not especially prominent. Another component is I'm feeling anxiety, a general anxiety. And then if I were trying to yeah, so maybe I'll just say I'm feeling a general anxiety. That is that. Now this is where I'm might need to get some advice from you about how to present this, but talking about the bodily component of anxiety. So I'm feeling this anxiety, and then I feel that it's somehow bodily, and then if you ask me why it feels somehow bodily, I would explain that it's because I'm also feeling pain at that moment. I'm feeling stomach pain and pain everywhere, and it seems to me that the anxiety and pain are somehow linked, but the pain is not in my immediate consciousness. It's in my bodily somatic feeling, but it's not in my mental intuition, but I feel it's somehow related to the anxiety. So that's something that comes up in a lot of my samples that I don't really know how to describe.
So I think we had had an example like that last time as well, and I think it'll be interesting to try to sort that out. I don't know that I can give any general advice so far, but let's see what happens. So is that the whole description there?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. And is one aspect of that more prominent than the other? The reading, the somehow presenting, the feeling anxiety, and the bodily presence, stomach ache.
I think the reading and the words are probably most prominent, maybe 60-40, and then the 40 is just the anxiety.
Okay. Well, let's
And
start with the reading. Let's start with the reading of the words and work towards the anxiety. So I am reading, and I didn't understand it. Is the first word R-A-R-E or R-O-U-R?
OUR.
Okay. Our most significant event. And is that like a headline or a part of a sentence or part of a text or the middle of a
That's
sentence?
something that's something I wrote that I'm reading over
So written on the computer screen or on real?
on the computer screen, on a Word doc, let's say.
Okay. And and at the same time as I'm reading that phrase, our most significant event, I am somehow presenting just portion of that significant event to myself.
Right.
Can you describe those two aspects, how they're the same or different, or?
So the reading is this, I'm seeing and comprehending that part. Um, and then the other part is that even while I'm reading this phrase, I'm latching on to significant event, and I'm sort of innerly voicing that to myself, and that has more of a speech quality than a simply listening quality. But there's no actual speech, or there's no actual imagining I'm speaking or visual imagery of the sort.
Okay. So let's start with our most significant event. I'm reading that, and are we talking about a fact of the universe here? This is the sentence that I am reading, our most significant event, or is it somehow I'm articulating that to myself in some articulating might be a little bit strong. What I'm trying to figure out is what's the difference. I still haven't figured out what's the difference between the reading of our most significant event and just significant event. Is that like context and presentation, or is it like two presentations?
You know, hmm. maybe maybe we should just go with the significant event part and ditch the our most significant
Okay.
event part.
So is that to say something like, I'm accepting that my eyeballs are reading this sentence that has in it the words our significant event,
Yeah.
but I'm not really paying attention to that aspect directly. What's directly in my experience is significant event. I'm not trying to talk you into that. I'm just trying to understand what we're talking about here.
Uh, I really should have I really should have made the distinction between these two at the time
Okay.
because I can't fully disentangle it now.
Okay, fair enough. And I would emphasize, which I think I've said several times, but I'm going to say it again, that's part of what this process is about. Is we don't really know, neither of us, none of us know what it is that we need to focus on or understand or whatever as we go. We have to work that out.
Yeah.
And so it seems like, well, maybe there's something like two aspects here that maybe this reading, first part of the reading is just context, or maybe there's something about it. Don't know. We'll have to keep that as a sort of a live possibility going forwards. But I would say let's not be too critical of ourselves for having not done it. That's the way this process goes. We have to learn what we're trying to do here. So let's set our significant event aside and go to the significant event, and that is somehow latched onto as if that is extracted out of the stream that is being read. Is that what we're saying here?
Yeah.
And so it's not like significant event is just at the moment of the beep. It happens to be a significant event, and 1 microsecond or half a second or whatever before that it would have been hour. It's that somehow I have pulled out the significant event piece of it. Is that right? And that is, I present that to myself in something that resembles speech.
Right.
And then there was the word actual. You said it's not actual speech, and I want to make sure that I understand what actual means. So actual sometimes means it's not external speech. There's no words coming out of my mouth. I'm accepting that. The question is whether it seems like speech innerly, seems like I'm speaking these words, even though I'm not actually speaking those words. That's one definition of actual. But then another definition of actual would be something like, well, it's not even that I'm innerly speaking those. It's less different. It's different from that.
There's a component of speech to it.
An experienced component of speech?
Um, there's something speech-like in that when I'm imagining the words,
Okay.
there's something almost speech-like about how I present that to myself.
Okay. And the almost portion, so does that include a voice? Is there experience of a voice? My voice, somebody else's voice, no voice?
Um, uh,
Or maybe that's a bad question to ask. So let me ask a different question, and we'll see which one of these questions is better, if either. Is there like a production to it? Like I feel like I am producing these words? I am somehow articulating these words?
yeah, I feel like I am somehow articulating them.
Okay. So I'm articulating them rather than hearing them being articulated by something or someone or somebody else. Is that right?
Right, right.
So I'm doing it. I'm the creator of these latched words. I experience myself as being the creator of these words. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then the part about whether I create them in a voice, that's harder. Not sure about that.
Yes, I don't. There's nothing especially. There's maybe. It's hard to say. I can't answer whether or not there's a voice.
Fair enough. And how about rhythm or sequence or temporal quality? Like, is it the case that significant comes before event? This is significant event in taking place over elapsed time in a sense, as
Yeah, there's a
opposed to, so it's not like this concept significant event is there all at once at one particular moment. It unfolds over time,
yeah,
and I unfold it over time, or I articulate it over time in some way.
yeah.
Then I think I'm good about that portion. Amber, you have any additional questions, or Tristan, you
No,
want to say
I
anything?
think I got it. I just want to make sure I sum up what we've had here. So I take it that at the moment of the beep, I am somehow innerly articulating a significant event. I can't yet disentangle if the reading part is a fact of the universe context or if that was really part of my experience. And this experience kind of unfolds over time. Am I getting all of that right?
There's one more piece to it. All that is right, I think.
Okay.
But there's one more piece, and that is that significant event is somehow extracted from the flow.
Yes.
It's not just the flow is going by, and here's this part of the flow, and then this part of the flow, and this part of the flow, and this part of the flow. But somehow I pull out, latch onto these particular words.
Yep. Got it.
Does that all sound right to you, Tristan?
Yeah.
All right, then let's move on to the feeling, bodily sensations, or whatever. And I think I'd like to start with the stomach ache. So is the stomach ache directly present in your experience at the moment of the beep, or is the stomach ache something that's understood to be ongoing in my body, even though I'm not paying attention to it at this particular moment? Or doesn't that question make sense at all?
Well, the stomach ache is a fact of the universe, something that I'm feeling at that moment, perceptually. But it's something I'm feeling at that moment in my body and not in my mental experience. Now, I guess it's in my conscious bodily experience, but when I've been doing these beeps, I've mostly been describing my conscious mental experience. So maybe I should start describing my conscious bodily experience more.
So that's what makes this work interesting, trying to sort that stuff out. So let's talk about the word conscious first. So that's a very problematic word for me. And so I would prefer that we talk about directly apprehended. So if something bodily is directly apprehended bodily, but that means before the footlights of my consciousness directly apprehended, I feel this stomach ache present to me, then yes, we should be talking about that. So even though there's no, well, let me retract that. So yes, if there is some bodily presentiment, something bodily presents itself to me directly, then that's fair game for DES. We're not just interested in mental stuff.
Right.
What we're interested in is whatever it is that presents itself. So like right now, I'm sitting and my leg is underneath my desk, and it sort of presses into the corner of my desk drawer presses into my leg. And when I'm talking about it right now, it's in the realm of painful, not very painful, but it's a sharp corner being pushed into my leg. But 2 minutes ago and 4 minutes ago and 6 minutes ago, my leg was doubtless in the same position with the same corpuscles doing the same thing. But I wasn't paying attention to that. I was trying to sort through what significant event, how that, and so that bodily process was no doubt ongoing in my leg and whatever part of my brain processes my leg pain. But I wasn't directly apprehending that because I was focused on Tristan and his linguistic stuff.
But so the directly apprehended part seems to have some aspect of something mental involved in it.
Well, the word mental is problematic for me too. So what the question is whether it is before the footlights of my consciousness or before the footlights of my mentality, if you like that. Mm-hmm. But there's in my world there's lots of stuff that is all going on at this time. Like there's the hum of the air conditioner and there's the sound of the refrigerator being opened in the next room and all that stuff. I could pay attention to that. That could be part of my directly apprehended stuff. But most of the time, I'm not paying attention to any or much of that. Mm. And that's what I would prefer to call directly apprehended rather than mental, because mental makes it sound like I'm analyzing it, which I'm not. But sometimes it presents itself and sometimes it doesn't. Like right now, I'm guessing your feet are on the floor. Is that right? Your feet are on the floor?
They're in the air.
They're in the air. Well, let's pick your backside. So your backside is on the chair that you're sitting. Hmm. And I can call your attention to your butt as it impacts the chair. And when we do that, we can make the aspects of how that presents itself, we can directly apprehend that. But I'm guessing that for the last 15 minutes, you haven't been occupied with directly apprehending your butt experience. It's been there. You haven't fallen off the chair, so you've been intelligently, skillfully processing what is coming through your input devices on your backside. But there hasn't been, I'm guessing, there hasn't been before the footlights of your consciousness much content like, well, I got to switch to my right side because my left side is getting a little bit, my right cheek is too squashed, and so I should switch to my left cheek or something. Your body has been doing that, but not directly apprehended, I think. Is that true?
Yeah, I understand your distinction, and I'm just trying to see how the pain aspect, how it fits into this or not. I'm trying to, it's just incredibly difficult for me to try to understand how this pain, because it's not in the footlights directly as pain. I'm not thinking, oh, I'm feeling pain right now, but I'm feeling anxiety right now, and when I look into what exactly this anxiety is, I feel that the anxiety is somehow tied to this pain that I'm feeling all over.
So, the fact that you're trying to work it out is excellent. That's exactly what we're trying to do here. And our goal, I think, should be to try to get better at it.
Mm.
Not necessarily to figure it out today. We'll do the best we can today, but we're not going to necessarily answer this question today or ever, for that matter. We're going to try to figure it out. So let me ask about what you just said. You said it's like my anxiety is somehow tied to, I forget exactly the verb you used, somehow tied to my pain.
Mm.
Does that mean that the pain seems to be part of the anxiety? Or does it seem like there's a bodily thing going on and I am anxious and these things are somehow related to each other but not part of each other?
Mm. Um,
So let me ask that question in a different way unless you want to say something before I do that.
mm.
So
Take it.
at the moment of this beep, does it seem like I'm feeling anxiety? And that would be the sort of the straightforward way of describing what presents itself in this aspect. We got the words going on, but in this aspect, it's like I feel anxiety. And then when I'm asked how to describe the characteristics of anxiety, I can say, well, I feel a stomach ache, and that seems to be a part of the anxiety, but it's not all of it. I feel anxiety that includes the stomach ache. Or does it seem like, well, when Russ asks me to focus on my anxiety, I can feel a stomach ache as well, which I wasn't really much paying attention to at the moment of the beat, but looking back on it, I can say, well, it was probably there. And whether it was there, what I want to know really is whether it's there as part of the anxiety or whether it's there as a bodily experience which can be construed to be part of the anxiety or whether it seems to be inherently a part of the anxiety.
I think it's that the anxiety feels bodily, and it feels bodily because I feel it throughout my body, including in the pain that I'm feeling. Which doesn't help. Let me try to. It's difficult because the pain may not be in before the footlights of my, you know, consciousness or thought process, but it's more strong than simply an automatic, than simply the my sensation of the chair or my body in space, for example. It's there's something more prominent to it. It's almost manifesting itself through the anxiety I'm feeling. I don't think that's concrete enough for you. So
So I want to be 100% clear here. It is not the case that I have a theory of anxiety or a theory of bodily processing or whatever, and I'm trying to fit you into some category about that. That is not true. I don't think there are such things actually. So what I'm trying to do is to get inside Tristan and experience the world the way Tristan does so, and help us put that into words that feel right to Tristan and feel intelligible to me, which is, from my point of view, an entirely egalitarian thing. It's not like I'm the expert and I'm trying to impose an expertise. It's I do have some practice in putting things into words, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be helpful to the Russ, Tristan, Amber trio. Maybe it will be, maybe it won't.
I think here's how I would describe it if I were doing it. I would say I'm feeling bodily pain, especially in my stomach, although I'm not consciously thinking about it. And then separately, I would have the component, I am experiencing anxiety about such and such, and this anxiety seems somehow bodily to me.
So
But
I'm feeling before the footlights of my consciousness bodily pain, stomach achy pain, and I am feeling anxious before the footlights of my consciousness at the same time, and somehow it seems like the stomach achy pain is related to the anxiety.
yes,
But not a direct manifestation of the anxiety. That is the stomach ache, what I'm understanding, what I'm trying to figure out whether I'm understanding it correctly, the bodily stomach ache is a bodily sensation, more or less in the realm of pressure on my backside and maybe stronger than that, but in the
right,
bodily sensation realm.
right,
And the anxiety is in the feeling realm.
right,
And those realms are not the same thing. The feeling realm and the bodily realm are not necessarily the same thing.
right.
But in this particular case, it seems like the bodily realm and the feeling realm somehow overlap each other.
Right. Yes, that seems accurate to me, or are directly tied to each other in some. Well, that may seem related. They seem related.
So the distinction that I guess I'm trying to work through here is that some people, when they describe their anxiety, they would say, I'm feeling anxious, and that includes a knot in my stomach.
Mm,
And those folks, the people that I have in my imagination now, which is not Tristan, but
right,
somebody else, would say, it's not like I had a bodily sensation of a knot in my stomach that existed separate from the anxiety. It's that the anxiety has as in one of its features a stomach knot.
right.
But I gather that you're saying something that's somewhat different from that.
Right.
You're saying the stomach knot is its own physical thing,
Hmm.
separate from the anxiety,
Yes.
but not entirely divorced from the anxiety either. That the anxiety, the stomach knot applies both as a physical sensation and as a part of the anxiety.
Yeah.
Okay? And I would point out that we've been at this for half an hour now, and that is not, I'm not being critical of this. What I'm trying to demonstrate with this part of the conversation is these things are hard. This is
Right.
to separate experiential aspects out in ways that seem faithful to your experience, and also in a way that I can articulate them, or I can grasp, I think, so that I can get in a position where I think I understand what you're saying, basically. Takes work.
It does. Luckily, a lot of the other samples are quite similar.
Quite similar or simple?
Similar.
Okay, we'll go.
Let's
Well,
see.
then maybe we should move on to another one. Maybe we'll get a different or better
Right.
triangulation, which is. So we ready to move on, Amber, you ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on to sample number 2, which is going to be Amber's.
Yep. Beep 2.
Okay, so I am articulating the words won't be to myself. Um, there's something there's something speech-like about it, but vaguely. I am engaged in general unsymbolized thinking about weather, um, uh, about the logistics of booking a room. There are no specific words attached to that, but if we wanted, there'd be something, I'm thinking about if a room will be available, when can I book, what space can I book in, etc. I'm feeling anxiety at that moment is another component, and I'm feeling pain at that moment. Um,
Is that everything?
yeah, the pain is mostly in the chest and head.
Okay. Um, so I hear there's quite a few things going on here. If we had to, for salience purposes, put numbers to it, what would we say these things are in terms of prominence in your experience?
We'll go with the words won't be as the most prominent.
Okay.
And then the room availability and anxiety are next most prominent.
Okay.
The pain is the least prominent.
Okay. So if we had to put numbers to that, would that be like, well, if my math will serve me, like 60, 35, like 5 or something like that? Or,
Well,
I heard 40, 25, 25, 10.
yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah.
sure, that sounds good.
Which one?
Oh, the second, 40, 25, 25, 10.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So we'll start with the articulating the won't be. So could you tell me a little bit more about what's going on here? I hear that I'm articulating it. It's speech-like, but it's vague. I think I'm just not really understanding what that means.
Oh, okay. I'm articulating it to myself. Should I just leave things that I'm articulating it to myself for these?
Well, I guess articulating could mean many different things. So what I'm trying to get a sense of is I hear that there's a speech-like quality to it, but it's vague. That's, I think, where I'm stuck here.
Okay, so if I'm trying to describe how I'm articulating it to myself, I would say there's something speech-like about it. It's more speech-like than as if I'm hearing it.
Okay. So I take that to mean more speech-like than hearing it, but not entirely speech-like?
Yes,
Or not entirely of speaking it?
yes.
Okay.
So is this similar to or different from the first beep where there was a speech like of significant event?
It's similar.
Exactly the same?
Yeah.
This one, I think you said something about vague and you didn't necessarily use that word, but is that just...
Oh, actually, yes, there's something slightly less prominent about the speech-like quality.
And is that to say that because there's all these other things, where we have a 40%, there's all the other things happening, so it's just not as like salient? Or is it something like it's not as speechy as,
It's not as speechy. So I lied when I said they were the same. It's not as speechy.
but still more speechy than heary?
Yes.
Okay.
And does less speechy mean not as prominent? Or does it?
Yes. It's
So
not quite.
it's not like there's some aspect that's missing here that was there before, but everything is just not quite so central.
Yeah.
And in the first beat there was something that you were reading. Are you reading something here, or
Yes, I'm reading something.
and does that something include the words won't be?
Yes.
And is won't be latched onto in the same sense that significant event was latched onto? And what I mean by
Yeah.
that is, it's not just that the sentence was something like, the room won't be available until 5 o'clock, and a minute before, or a second before, I would have latched onto the room, and now I'm latching on won't be, and the next I would have latched onto available or whatever, but somehow I've pulled won't be out of it.
Yes.
And I'm happy with that portion.
Okay. Now let's go to the logistics of booking the room piece.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard you saying that this is unsymbolized thinking, but I want to set that aside to describe the experience as it occurred. So I hear that there's something going on about booking a room. How is that present to you in the moment?
Well, I'm looking over, as a matter of fact, I'm looking over a schedule with, no, actually I'm not, I'm reading at that time. So I'm sort of considering my options of if things are I'm thinking about what space we would book if something's not available. I'm thinking about if we should book another room. But at the moment of the beep, these things are sort of going on in my mind, but I'm not thinking about any one in particular. I'm just sort of thinking about all of this together.
Okay. And are there any words present in these thoughts?
No.
No?
No.
And any images?
No.
No? Okay. And um okay, so I take it this is all this, what space should we get? Where should we book? And it's all just falls into this booking a room, booking a space. And there was one more question I had. Shoot. Oh, is this a purely cognitive experience or an affective experience? I hear that there's an anxiety, but I take it that that's separate from this. Am I getting that right?
Well, the anxiety is about whether I'm gonna book a room or not.
So I guess what I'm trying to figure out is like this process, as it's described,
Mm.
sounds very cognitive analytical, but I don't want to exclude the possibility that there's some type of affective thing to it or feeling thing to this. And I don't want to talk you in or out of it. I just want to make sure that I'm fully leaving that possibility open for us if that may be the case or if not.
Right. I think I'm generally feeling anxiety throughout the whole flow of thoughts that I'm feeling. And in this particular moment, the anxiety and the thinking about the booking a room are related.
Related but separable
Um,
or not?
um,
So let me see whether I can ask a question, which I think Amber's is a good question, but let me ask it a little bit of a different way.
Cool.
So does it seem like I have a thought process going on, which involves a bunch of stuff about whether I should book this, whether I should, what it would do, should I book 2 rooms, whatever, all that stuff could be said to be cognitive.
mm,
And at the same time, in parallel, there is an anxiety about this whole thing. Or does it seem like there's sort of a swirly mixing together of should I buy that, should I order this? And at the same time as I feel anxiety, this just seems like one thing about which I could say, well, there's a anxiety component and there's a cognitive analytical kind of component. Or doesn't that question even make sense?
it's hard for me to disentangle the anxiety from the booking a room. So I think they're all wrapped up into one.
Okay.
That moment.
Okay. So I am anxiously thinking about, you might say, I'm anxiously considering the alternatives. Is that right? Or I'm with anxiety considering the alternative. That seems like sort of the same thing to me.
Um, yes.
Mhm. So I'm good about that aspect, I think.
Okay. Now, I'll move into the pain in the chesty head or the chest head pain going on. Um, I guess is this, so I hear that this is the least bit of the experience, 10%, if even. So how is that present?
Mm, um, that's present in mostly a bodily way, and I'm not consciously thinking about the pain, but but I'm still noticing a strong pain, or I'm feeling a strong pain in my chest and in my head.
And I'm noticing that at the moment of the beep.
Well, I would say I'm feeling it at the moment of the beep.
Okay. And directly present.
Yes.
Okay. And this pain, I take it, is like a separable, ongoing sensation. Like I feel pain, 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 and the beep comes and I'm still feeling the pain.
Yes.
Okay. And unlike the other beep, like beep one, we had the pain was tied to the anxiety. But here, I'm understanding that the pain is separate from this. I'm anxiously thinking rather than a pain anxiety.
So
Am I getting that right?
let me ask that same question with a little less leadingness to it.
Okay.
So the question that Amberist wants to know here is, does this chest pain seem part of the anxiety, or does it seem like its own bodily pain?
I think for the purposes of description, it's its own bodily pain.
And that makes it somewhat different then from the stomach sensation of the previous beep.
No, it's like the previous beep. They seem, they do seem related. I think that's what we ended up on. We ended up saying that I'm feeling pain and it somehow seems related.
Right.
Yeah.
That was beep one. So beep two, are we saying that the chest and headache don't seem related, or do they seem?
They do seem related.
Okay. So it is the same as beep one.
Right. Yes.
Different part of the body. But,
right.
Okay. And what I understand about both of those is that I'm directly apprehending what you guess could call the bodily sensation aspects of this. First beep was stomach, and the second beep is chest and head. But somehow those also seem like they're in the feeling realm, or they're significant for the feeling realm.
Right.
The affective realm.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the chest and head pain, is that one pain in the head and the chest, or do I have a chest pain and a head pain?
It doesn't make sense for me to distinguish between the two.
Because I can't remember, or because it seems like they're the same thing?
Well, it seems like I have pain because I have pain in other parts of my body. I have pain, as a matter of fact. If you would ask me to say, I would say I have pain in the chest, the back, the fingers, the head, and and the neck leading up to the head. So it all seems like the same pain. But where I'm feeling it most prominently at the moment of the beep is in the chest and the head.
So does that mean that I understand my body to have pain more or less throughout the body, or much of the body?
Mm-hmm.
But at the moment of the beep, I am most directly apprehending the chest and head aspect of it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So does that mean that I am directly apprehending the rest of those pains, but just not as strongly? Or does that mean I'm not apprehending them at all, but I understand them to be ongoing, even though at this moment I'm not apprehending them?
At the moment of the beep, I'm not apprehending them.
Okay. So at the moment of the beep, I am apprehending a chest and head pain, which I understand to be a portion of the rest of the body pain, but the rest of the body pain isn't directly apprehended. And I apprehend the chest and head pain, and maybe the rest of the body, we haven't talked about that, as being part of the anxiety.
Or not as being part, as being related to the anxiety. Because I think it's just as much that the pain is sort of feeding into the anxiety, as in the anxiety is the cause of the pain.
So does the in this beep, does the chest and head pain seem to be a part of the anxiety? Or does it seem to be related in some way to the anxiety?
Seems to be related in some way.
Okay. And I guess that is what we said about the first beep, that
Yeah.
the stomach knot was somehow related to it, but we haven't figured out what that is. All right, I'm good.
Me too.
I would say let's go on to beep number 3.
Okay. So this beep seems to be not similar. I'm reading the words just in case, and I'm articulating those words to myself, and I'm feeling anxiety about, and that anxiety is part of thinking about things going wrong, and about scheduling things. So I'm thinking about those things, but my thought is unsymbolized, not in words or language.
Okay. So I'm gathering that what you're calling unsymbolized means there is a bunch of non-articulated cognitive aspects.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And are those directly present at the moment of this beat? So I'm feeling anxious and there are a bunch of cognitive
Yes.
aspects. Okay. Okay. And so let me go back to I'm reading just in case.
Mm-hmm.
And is that part of a longer text? The beep happens to catch me.
Yeah, that's part of a longer text that I've picked out those specific words.
Okay. And do those specific words just in case seem latched onto in the sense that we have used that term sort of as a technical term about your experience, that it's not just that I'm attending to the stream of words that are going by, but somehow I am actively extracting just these words out of the mix?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And I think you said you were articulating them to yourself. Is that what we've been calling, I guess, speech-like qualities?
The speech-like qualities are less prominent here.
So the latching is equally prominent, but the speech-like aspects is less prominent?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And then there's anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me about that. How does the anxiety present itself to you?
The anxiety is it seems somehow bodily.
In what way?
Although I'm not directly apprehending my pain at that moment.
So my anxiety seems bodily, but it does not involve the pain, which I understand to be sort of omnipresently there, but I'm not experiencing it at this particular moment.
Right.
Okay. And so, and so, what does it mean to say that I experience the anxiety as being bodily? And I'm not doubting you. I'm just trying to understand it.
I think we can just say I'm feeling anxiety. Just keep it more simple.
Okay. And what I would say about that is that some people experience anxiety and they can say, well, you know, my theory tells me it's got to be bodily, but I don't actually feel it in my body. But I'm feeling it. There's no question about it. I'm feeling anxiety, but it doesn't have any specific bodily manifestations at this moment, but must be bodily because all anxiety has got to be bodily. That's one way of thinking. And then other people would say, well, I feel it in my body, and they can specifically say, well, it's in my chest or my stomach or whatever. So,
If you asked me to pinpoint at that moment what the anxiety, how it felt like, I would talk about my body, I guess, but I'm not. Yeah, so I guess it does feel bodily and related to the pain I'm feeling in that way.
bodily, did you say bodily and related to the pain I'm feeling, or bodily and unrelated to the pain?
Related to the pain.
Related to.
Yeah.
But we started out by saying that the pain was not directly apprehended.
That's true.
And I'm not being the slightest bit critical here. I'm trying to understand why it is that we would use, why we would say these things. I'm not even trying to understand why. I'm just trying to clarify what we mean by that.
Right.
So one way of understanding would be, I think Tristan thinks that all feeling has to be bodily. Therefore, it must be in this bodily pain realm. Or it could be that there's some faint presentation of bodiliness to my anxiety. And other people would say, well, you know, I'm totally feeling anxiety. There's no question about that, but I don't feel any even faint bodily aspect of it. Obviously, it's taking place in my body, but I don't feel it. That'd be fine too.
I would say I'm also feeling the bodily pain, but the aspect that's presenting it to myself is fairly slight.
Mm-hmm.
And the aspect that's presenting the anxiety is fairly strong.
Not sure I understood that. So the anxiety is fairly strong, but the bodily aspect of it is not strong? Is that what you said?
Well, the anxiety is more present to my consciousness.
The anxiety as a feeling separate from any particular bodily manifestation.
Yes.
Okay. And I think I'm good. And we're at an hour, and I'm thinking we've been working pretty hard. We should,
That
assuming we
seems
want to do
good.
this again, we should do it again, but rather than go on to another beat at this
Yeah,
moment.
I agree.
And I would say I appreciate the struggle. I think it is a struggle.
Yeah.
I think it's a worthwhile struggle, but that doesn't make it any less a struggle.
Yeah.
And what makes DES a struggle is that words in general seem like they have edges and categories. Like this is a word that means this, and that's a word that means that, and this is a word that means that.
Right.
But I don't think that's actually true, even in regular everyday word. But it's problematic, most problematic, maybe about inner speech. So we've got to work at it. And,
It's hard to get at the ineffable, but
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would go with ineffable, but I think it is fair to say that a lot of experience does not easily divide itself along linguistic lines. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And that doesn't make it ineffable necessarily. It might be, but it makes it hard to describe.
Right.
So when should we do this again? Okay, that sounds good to me.
Okay.
All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
I think we're doing what we need to be doing. I think it's difficult, interesting,
Excellent.
challenging, unsatisfying, satisfying, all that stuff. That's what makes it interesting.
We're moving along.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, thank you very much.